Betrayal is never easy for anyone. But for the INFJ, it hits on a whole different level. It doesn't just hurt, it shakes their foundation. INFJs are known for being thoughtful, loyal, and deeply intuitive. They don't let just anyone into their heart. But when they do, they're all in. This kind of commitment is what makes their relationships so meaningful. Whether it's a friendship, romantic connection, or even a deep work bond, INFJs put their full emotional presence into it. They invest with care. They support with consistency. They trust with depth. So when betrayal happens, it feels personal in a way that goes beyond the surface. It's not just about what was done, it's about who did it and how much the INFJ gave. Something breaks inside them that's not easy to repair. Many INFJs describe betrayal not just as pain, but as confusion. They can't understand how someone they trusted so much could lie, manipulate, or walk away. It feels like the story they were living was rewritten without warning. They also don't bounce back easily. INFJs don't just move on. They relive, reanalyze, and reflect, trying to make sense of what happened. This can stretch the pain out for weeks, months, or even longer. This isn't because INFJs are weak or dramatic. It's because their emotional world is built on depth, loyalty, and meaning. When those values are broken, they don't just hurt, they unravel. In this video, we'll explore 6 clear reasons why betrayal cuts so deeply for the INFJ. These insights don't just explain the pain. They help make sense of the healing process too. Let's start with the first reason INFJs take betrayal so hard. Reason number 1. Investing emotionally with full trust. INFJs don't open up quickly. They're private by nature and slow to trust. But when someone finally earns their trust, it means something big. They don't just let that person in, they invest emotionally, fully, and with real intention. For the INFJ, trust is sacred. It's not casual or automatic. It's built over time through deep conversations, shared value, and emotional safety. Once they trust someone, they begin to reveal their true self, something they rarely show to the world. This is what makes betrayal so devastating, because that trust wasn't given lightly. It came after long hesitation, deep thought, and careful hope. So when that trust is broken, it doesn't just feel like a mistake, it feels like a violation. INFJs tend to give their best to the people they trust. They share their feelings, show loyalty, support through hard times, and create emotional space for others to feel seen. They believe in the good in people, and they believe that their trust will be honored. When betrayal happens, that belief is shattered. The INFJ looks back at everything they gave, the time, the energy, the vulnerability, and they feel exposed. Not just hurt, but opened up and dropped. This betrayal cuts even deeper because INFJs often ignore early red flags. Their intuitive sense may pick up on problems, but their heart wants to believe. They give people the benefit of the doubt. They assume the best, even when it costs them. So when someone they trusted turns out to be dishonest or harmful, it also feels like a betrayal of their own judgment. How did I miss that? Why didn't I listen to my gut? They don't just question the person, they start questioning themselves. This emotional investment is also hard to replace. INFJs don't jump from connection to connection. Each bond is unique. Each person they have trusted represents a real piece of their heart. Losing that feels like losing part of themselves. And because their love is so deep, INFJs often stay longer than they should, hoping, helping, waiting for change. When the betrayal becomes undeniable, the grief is doubled. They've lost someone and lost time. This is why INFJs feel betrayal more deeply than most. It's not about the size of the offense, it's about the depth of the trust that was broken. To the INFJ, betrayal isn't just a moment. It's a break in a bond they believed was built to last. Reason number 2. seeing relationships as moral contracts. INFJs don't view relationships casually. When they bond with someone, it's not just emotional, it's moral. They believe relationships are built on shared values, honesty, and emotional responsibility. In their mind, relationships are not just about time spent together, they are unspoken agreements. Agreements to be kind, to be truthful, to care deeply. Even if nothing is said out loud, the INFJ assumes that both people are in it with sincerity. So when betrayal happens, cheating, lying, manipulation, abandonment, it doesn't just feel like a personal loss. It feels like someone has broken a sacred contract. To an INFJ, this kind of moral violation goes beyond disappointment. It shakes their worldview. They don't just ask, "Why did they do this to me?" They ask, "How can people do this?" It cuts into their belief in goodness, integrity, and emotional honesty. This moral pain lingers. Even long after the relationship ends, the INFJ may struggle to believe in future connections. They become wary, not just of people, but of their own ideals. This is especially true if the person who betrayed them once seemed ethical, kind, or emotionally deep. That reversal feels like a betrayal of everything the INFJ values. The INFJ may try to make sense of it logically, but betrayal defies logic. It brings a sense of injustice that doesn't have a clear resolution. This moral injury makes healing harder. It's not just about getting over someone. It's about rebuilding belief in what's right, in what's true, in what love is supposed to mean. And during that time, INFJs may isolate. They may stop sharing. They may stop trusting their own sense of what's good. But the strength of the INFJ is that even when their worldview is shaken, they eventually rebuild. And when they do, their moral compass becomes even stronger. Betrayal hurts them more because their bonds are rooted in principle. And when a principle is broken, it doesn't just break the heart, it breaks something deeper. Still, this pain is not the end. For INFJs, it becomes the start of something deeper, a new understanding of what it means to trust and how to protect their values moving forward. Reason number 3, internalizing guilt and self-blame. After betrayal, many people feel hurt, hurt, angry, or even numb. But INFJs add another layer to that pain, self-blame. They don't just feel betrayed, they start to believe the betrayal was somehow their fault. This isn't because they actually caused it. It's because INFJs are wired to reflect. They look inward first. They think deeply about what went wrong. They replay every moment, every conversation, looking for clues they missed. Instead of saying, "That person hurt me," they say, "What did I do wrong?" Or, "Did I let this happen?" They pick apart their actions, trying to figure out if they missed the signs, gave too much, stayed too long. This can become a mental trap. INFJs go over the relationship again and again. They question their boundaries, their instincts, their kindness. Even when the betrayal is clear, like cheating, lying, or emotional manipulation, they still find a way to take on blame. They think, "Maybe I wasn't understanding enough. Maybe I should have communicated better. Maybe I expected too much." And in doing so, they take on weight that was never theirs to carry. This guilt adds emotional confusion. The INFJ feels pain from what was done to them, but also shame from what they think they failed to do. It's like being hurt twice, once by the betrayal and again by their own thoughts. This self-blame also delays healing. Instead of moving on, they stay stuck in self-analysis. They don't give themselves the compassion they freely give others. It's important to remember that betrayal is a choice made by another person. INFJs may be empathetic and loyal, but that doesn't mean they cause the other person's actions. With time, many INFJs begin to see this clearly. They start to understand that caring deeply isn't a mistake. That trusting someone doesn't make them foolish. That being hurt by someone doesn't mean they failed. Letting go of guilt is a slow process, but a powerful one. It starts with recognizing the difference between reflection and self-punishment. One leads to healing. The other leads to shame. And the truth is, INFJs don't deserve shame. They deserve space to grieve, to feel, and to remember that being hurt doesn't mean they were wrong to care. It means they were real. And the world needs more of that. Reason number 4, experiencing emotional shock and disbelief. INFJs are intuitive. They usually sense when something's off. They can read moods, feel emotional shifts, and pick up on hidden tension. But betrayal catches them off guard in a way that feels unreal. This is because INFJs don't just connect with people, they believe in them. Once someone has earned their trust, the INFJ sees them through a lens of hope and integrity. They assume shared values. They assume good intent. So when betrayal comes, it breaks more than trust. It breaks belief. The INFJ enters a kind of emotional shock. Their mind can't accept what's happened. They feel numb, confused, or disoriented. One moment, everything felt stable. The next, it doesn't make sense. They ask themselves, how could this happen? How did I not see it coming? And worse, was anything real? This shock can affect them physically too. They may lose sleep, struggle to eat, or feel like their mind is spinning. It's not just emotional pain, it's the body reacting to a deep internal collapse. The disbelief lingers. INFJs want to understand. They want to make sense of the betrayal. But often, there's no clear explanation. The person who hurt them may lie, deny, or disappear. And that leaves the INFJ without closure. This lack of closure is part of what makes the pain stick. INFJs don't just want to move on. They want answers. They want truth. And when that truth doesn't come, they keep searching for it, sometimes in themselves, sometimes in memories, sometimes in writing or late-night thinking. The emotional shock also creates a split in the INFJ's sense of self. They start to feel like they can't trust their own mind. If I didn't see this coming, what else am I missing? This self-doubt deepens the betrayal. Now, it's not just about what the other person did, it's about what the INFJ feels they failed to protect. But here's what's real. The shock is not weakness. It's evidence of how deeply INFJs feel, of how much they trusted, of how much they believed. And while that shock can be overwhelming, it eventually fades. The mind clears. The heart regains its rhythm. And the INFJ begins to rebuild, not just their view of others, but their faith in themselves. Reason number 5, struggling to rebuild boundaries and trust. Once an INFJ has been betrayed, something in them changes. They don't just close the door, they build a wall. And not a temporary one. It's tall, strong, and built to last. This is because INFJs take trust seriously. They don't hand it out easily, and they don't recover quickly once it's broken. Rebuilding isn't just about forgiving someone. It's about rebuilding the entire inner system that allowed that person in. After betrayal, INFJs often question all their past choices. They wonder if they were too open, too kind, too quick to believe. They feel the need to protect themselves, and that protection shows up as distance. They may become guarded in conversations, slow to respond, hesitant to open up. They want to connect, but their heart doesn't feel safe. Even with people they love, they might struggle. Every new bond feels risky. Every moment of trust feels fragile. They fear getting hurt again, and that fear starts to shape how they interact. This isn't about being cold. It's about being wounded. INFJs carry that emotional memory with them. It whispers, "Be careful, don't let this happen again." Rebuilding trust is hard because it requires vulnerability. And after betrayal, vulnerability feels like danger. The INFJ may want closeness but also fear it. They may test people without realizing it. Will they leave if I open up? Will they still care if I show my flaws? This leads to inner conflict. The INFJ craves connection, but also pushes it away. They want to be known, but fear being misunderstood or betrayed again. Healing this takes time. It takes consistent, safe relationships. People who don't pressure. People who listen, stay, and prove over time that they can be trusted. And it also takes self-trust. INFJs need to believe in their own judgment again. They need to know that even if they're hurt, they'll survive. That they can make better choices. This process isn't quick, but each step helps. Every moment of honesty. Every small risk that goes well. Every boundary that's respected. Eventually, the INFJ lets the wall down, not all at once, but piece by piece. Because while betrayal builds walls, healing builds wisdom. And that wisdom becomes the INFJ's strength, not to close off, but to choose who gets through and when. Reason number 6. Carrying the weight of empathy, otter. Hurt. One of the most unique challenges INFJs face after betrayal is that they continue to feel empathy, even toward the person who hurt them. While others might get angry and cut ties, INFJs are often left with mixed emotions. They feel pain, but they also feel compassion. They might wonder, what made this person act that way? Were they hurting too? Did I fail them in some way? Even in the middle of heartbreak, they're trying to understand the other side. This isn't weakness. It's the INFJ's emotional depth at work. They don't just see what people do. They try to understand why they do it. They see the wounded parts, the unspoken pain, the reasons behind the betrayal. But that understanding comes with a heavy cost. It makes healing more complicated. Instead of cutting ties and walking away, INFJs often stay emotionally entangled. They struggle to feel anger without guilt. They struggle to let go without worrying about the other person's well-being. Even when they know someone was toxic or manipulative, part of them still hopes that person will heal, change, or come back differently. This can lead to internal conflict. Their head says, "You were betrayed, walk away," but their heart says, "They're still human, don't be cold." That split creates emotional exhaustion. It also makes boundaries hard to hold. The INFJ may feel guilty for pulling away. They may respond to texts out of concern, not desire. They may stay emotionally available even after being hurt. This empathy isn't bad. It's a gift. But after betrayal, it can turn into emotional self-sacrifice. What INFJs have to learn is that empathy doesn't mean continued access. They can understand someone without giving them more chances. They can care from a distance. True healing comes when INFJs begin to direct that same empathy inward. When they say, "I understand why they did what they did, but I also understand that I didn't deserve it." It's not about bitterness. It's about balance. About caring for themselves with the same depth they've always offered others. And when they do, something powerful happens. They stop carrying someone else's pain. And they start holding space for their own. That shift is what finally frees them, not from empathy, but from the burden of carrying someone else's story instead of living their own. For the INFJ, betrayal isn't just a broken promise, it's a personal earthquake. It shakes their sense of trust, identity, and meaning. It hits hard because they love deeply, believe fully, and give without holding back. But even in the middle of all that pain, INFJs carry strength. The strength to feel, to reflect, and eventually to rise. The 6 reasons we've covered aren't flaws. They're proof of how much INFJs care, how much they value truth, and how far they're willing to go for love and loyalty. If you're an INFJ who's been through betrayal, know this: your empathy is not a mistake. Your trust wasn't wasted. And your journey forward will be rooted in the same depth that once made you vulnerable. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning how to protect your heart without closing it. And if you're still processing betrayal, you're not alone. Leave a comment, share your story, and connect with others who understand. Your experience matters. And your ability to love again, even after being hurt, is part of what makes you powerful. Thanks for watching.